Welcome back to the show, The Unbroken with Sam Davis. Sam, I am right here. Out there in the real world, I'm an interventionist with over 14 years of experience. But in here, I like to interview cool people doing some cool stuff and people that I think that you need to know about. And my guest today, I've known for years. And I believe that there are some people that were created to be healers. And my guy that I'm going to interview here today is a true healer. I've trusted him with family members of mine. And I'm honored to have him here today, and his name is Chane. So, man, I see you, and everyone when I mention your name to people that don't know you or have not been introduced to you, I say he is one of the most level people I've ever met, that I expect you to like levitate at any moment. I mean, you are there. It's not every day that, or just anyone can say, hey, you know what? I'm going to open up a place for healing for men. Like, how'd that happen? And what's that been looking like for you?
Well, at about 2.5 years after I got sober, I got fired from a sales job, because I couldn't sell it. I went dry for a spell, and the guy just said, hey, Jason, you're a good guy and everything, but I got to find somebody in here who can move this, and you're not moving it, so I'm going to let you go. And I was shocked. I was upset because it was still the best money job I had ever had, and I just bought a house and just got married and all this other stuff, and then I didn't know if I was going to have the income to support this new life, and I had been volunteering at this Salvation Army every Thursday night, telling my story. Ended up sponsoring a bunch of guys through that process. And we would go every Thursday, and the guy that I would do it with, we were driving to it one night after I'd gotten fired and was like, I hadn't found a job. And he's like, Jason, there's a treatment center out in Manor, Texas, that's hiring for a counselor. And I think you'd be great at it. You love doing this stuff. You should apply for that. And I thought, well, how much do they get paid? And he said, it doesn't matter how much they get paid. You're meant to do this kind of stuff, and you'll make money eventually. And so I went interviewed out there, and I got the job like right off the bat. And at that point, it was a non-licensed center that you could just do it on your talent alone. You didn't have to have any credentialing or anything like that. Like, they were looking for people that had the energy to reach people that were unreachable. And I fell in love with it from the get-go. When I'm meeting with a guy and challenging him, I felt like a football coach. I felt like what I always had kind of been. Like, I know how to motivate people and get them through stuff and challenge them. And it was just that opportunity. And I was like, you get paid for this? Not a lot. You paid a lot for it. But it didn't feel like work to me. And I got energized from it. It didn't deplete from me. Like, I didn't leave work like, oh my God, this is stealing my soul. It was like building it. And so I did that for a while, and I realized, like, I started to get the idea in my head. It's like, you're really running this place. Like, over time, a lot of things happened. People got drunk, or they worked there. Things kind of fell apart in a lot of different ways. The owner died, and a lot of things happened. And I realized, like, I got put in a position, though not formally given the position of director, I really was people were coming to me for the guidance and the help, and I ended up really kind of being a father to the place, for lack of a better term. And I learned how to run something from soup to nuts, from the beginning, all the positions. And I did all the family work, did all the talks, I did all the groups, did all the individuals, did everything. And I realized, like, there's not much more to this than that. Now, there's a whole business side that I didn't understand. I'm a smart guy, but I'm not a hardcore let's kill it business guy. But how to run a healing center, I had that. It was a natural thing for me, and I had the experience of it. And so eventually I had to end up running a place formally, but I knew in my heart that I was going to open my own place, because no matter, I think in some ways, like I always knew, like no matter where I worked, it's never fully identified who I was. And it's really hard to do that anyway. It's really hard to have an identity in a place that you work. Some people really identify with where they work and they take it to heart. But a lot of times you identify with some of it and then you overlook the parts that you don't really agree with. And a lot of times you say yes to things you really want to say no to because you kind of toe in the company line. And I did plenty of that. Not anything unethical, but just simply like, if I had something, I'd do it differently.
Mm-hmm.
Because I felt like we missed opportunities to reach people. That the deal is this: when somebody, you could have a center that specializes in certain things. A lot of treatment centers do that. We work well with 18 to 24-year-old men. That's great. And that's good for marketing. That's good to find your niche. At the end of the day, you got to be able to help anybody. And I'm not saying we're the treatment center for everybody, because we're probably not. But the truth of it is like, when somebody comes to me, they're on a divine appointment. And I got to figure out how to reach them in the best way that I have possible. Because somehow I feel like that's like a contract between me and God. It's like, oh, God, why'd you choose us?
That can be scary too.
Yeah.
It'd be scary to be in that situation where you know that you're out here doing God's work and He's going to put somebody in your life that you're like, and I've had that before. It's like, whoa, what am I going to do here? You know?
And that doesn't mean that you're always appropriately
Right.
matched. You know, you might need to find special help for them. You might need to refer them out if you can't do everything, but that needs to be uncovered. And that takes a while sometimes, and you have to really see the whole picture. And you have to be able to like really weigh like, how are we going to reach this person? Because my job, I've taken on a financial obligation to the family, to them, to the client. And then also, like I say, it's a divine appointment. I say, well, God, why did this guy end up in my spider web?
Mm-hmm.
He could have ended up anywhere. There's so many options. How do you end up with me? What is it in this short time that we have, what is it that we are going to do here? And so looking at it like that, people don't come to us surrendered. They don't come to us like, I'll do anything you say, Jason. They bitch about this, they bitch about that. It's a memory foam mattress. Well, they wanted a spring mattress. Is it,
Mm-hmm.
It's ribeye, it's not filet.
Mm-hmm.
It's this, it's that. Like the nature of treatment and just doing healing work is, you have to know that you're going to be fighting the disease, that you're going to be fighting that part of them that doesn't want to get better, that's been in control a long time, and you're going to get the teeth. I always say it's self-hate projected outwards. And the staff has to know and believe that it has nothing to do with them while they're acting this way. Can't take it personal.
And I've seen a lot of places kick people out for showing up for reasons of why they're supposed to be there to start with.
Right.
I've seen a lot of places that want the easy cases.
People have a sight that they can see like the best in somebody. A mom can see the best in their kid because they've seen the best. They've seen that true nature when they're babies, when they're full of life, energy, and boundless expansion of what they could be. And they're not trapped in the traumas that happen later that enslave us. They know that true nature. And how do I return somebody to factory settings? How do I look inside of them and not be intimidated by all the fire they're hurling at me? Because they are, and it can be scary sometimes. I mean, we get guys 6, 7, 6, 8 years old, 6, 7, like this tall.
Yeah.
Big old dudes,
Yeah.
Guys that want to fight in the octagon.
Yeah.
And they're like, come on. They're ready to go. They're bitching about this. They're bitching about that. They want to leave. They want to fight. And you got to be able to walk in there and command it.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell you what, and you have to walk through fear to do it. Doesn't mean that you're not going to be scared, because you don't want to lose them.
Yeah.
And there's a fine line. You have to build a rapport with somebody first. I can't just bark my orders at somebody when they come to me and expect them to snap into place. That shit doesn't work.
Mm-hmm.
It does not. You have to be able, like the job is, how do I make you believe in me that I can help you, and that I'm not just in it for the money. I'm not just in it for the quickness. I'm in it for the right reasons. That my job is to actually do this with you, and I'm going to do it with you. I'm not going to do it for you, and I'm not going to do it to you. I'm going to walk with you through the fire, because it's going to be ugly, but you're not going to run me off. And I believe that, people that really fight outwardly and don't act like they don't want the help really need it the most. I can remember my grandma was dying in a nursing home in Texas, the one that was the healer. And in this little bathroom it had a little cross stitch thing on the wall. It said, "People that need the most love often deserve it the least," because they fight. Mm-hmm. They're mean to you, mm-hmm. but it's because they're so broken and so damaged and so hurt. And so my job is to be able to overcome that, to realize that it's not about me. It's being hurled at me, but it's not. It's their self-hate, their doubt, and they want so badly, that darkness in them wants so badly to scare me off, because if I give up on them, then they can give up on themselves. It's just one more person. If he gives up on me, then I know I can give up on me. And that's what it wants. It wants to kill the fire before it ever rages.
Yeah.
That fire for recovery.
Yeah.
Its job is to stamp out the energy before it raises, because that darkness knows if this guy catches fire for recovery, I won't be able to keep him down. And that's my job, is like to come in there and help get that fire going. And then to also build a safe container around him, so he knows, like, these are the parameters. This is where I'm, comfortable, and I need to learn to grow within this container.
So what's that look like, though? I mean, it's your place. We want to talk about, like, paint a picture. What does your environment look like there? What is your facility? What is your place? Where's your place of healing that you've created?
Well, it's in St. Augustine, Florida, which is considered the oldest city in the United States. It's a really unique, kind of smaller town. It has a definitely a unique vibe to it as far as how it feels. And the place, it was this really cool, like up on top of a hill overlooking the intercoastal. Water runs right underneath it. It's a special place, and most people feel it as soon as they get there. I felt it the first time I went there. And I knew that was the spot. I didn't have any money when I first saw it, but I went to work getting it after that. And it took years from when I first saw it to when we were able to first rent it. Mm-hmm. And a lot of God in that, because we didn't have hardly any money. Even when we took it over, we didn't have any money. And it wasn't, I say took it over, it wasn't a going concern. It was just a house mm-hmm. on some land. And the place, it's just, it's trees, it's field, it's grass, and it's like home. We're not like a hospital. I don't believe that anybody really feels authentic or themselves in a place where they're being prodded.
Yeah. And
it's not to take away from places that really do deep and effective work. Here I am, people pleasing right now. But I wanted a place that was going to be mine, that I was going to put my heart energy into, to be a place that I felt like would be a great place to heal, that I would want to come to, that I would want a loved one to be at. And so it just so happened that it worked out. And the energy, like a treatment center, like a healing center in itself, you can have an idea what you want it to be. Just like, you can have a child and you want them to be a baseball player, but they like ballet.
Right.
And there's a lot of influences that go into a child, not just yours. You might be the loudest one. But that doesn't mean that they're not going to find things on their own. So Augustine has become its own entity, not just what I imprinted on it and wanted for it. It's its own life. It's its own organism. So it's become an amalgamation of everyone who's worked there, everyone who's given life energy to it. Like we were saying earlier, people that work in a place, they trade their life for work. They trade their life for that energy of money, whatever you pay them. So I have to really value that. They're giving their life to help these men, and it's through that vehicle of our place. But when it comes to pay, or when it comes to time, or whatever it comes to, I realize these people are given the only finite substance that they have, which is life. in order to give other people life. It's a very powerful thing. So if we've been there, we're in our 10th year now.
What are you doing there? What does it look like for a client to come there, for a patient to come there, for a guy, because it's a men's facility?
Yeah.
For a man to walk in the door, what are you guys doing?
Well, one, it's welcoming them and making them feel at home. Challenging them as it comes. Raising that bar of what was acceptable yesterday may not be acceptable today. Because you're going to grow and you're going to have a spiritual awakening there. Our job is to create a container for you to have that awakening within yourself.
Mm-hmm.
My job is to help them self-actualize, and that may not make a lot of sense, but most people can't do it without a guide. And that doesn't mean that that someone's a guru and they're not. It's finding their own inner guru within them. It's finding their own power within them. But there has to be a shock to the system and a place where they can do that work, where they're challenged, but they're not overwhelmed by the external circumstances of their life, where they can actually get present. Like they don't get phones in there, 90 days without a cell phone. That's a lot of places would never do that because they know it affects the bottom line, and it probably does. I don't know any other bottom line other than my own. But it does, because sometimes people don't want to do that. They don't want to surrender to that. They don't want to give up that lifeline, that connection. But truly, it's hard for them to be present to the situation if they're always running to that. Now, they eventually get it the longer they're there, and then we therapeutically work with that reintroduction. Because then that whole world comes back.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we have to mimic real life. At the same time, if somebody's going to meet that power that's going to guide their life, there has to be we have to remove some of the things that block us. And that's through self-reflection. That's through work. They're going to do work there. It's not an easy place. Nothing in life is easy that's worth it.
Success lies behind the struggle.
Yeah, definitely. And the struggle is within it. It's just how you view it. I've had a lot of times in my life where it felt like a struggle, and I have times in my life where it felt meaningful.
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't seeing the negative in it. But there is nothing. I mean, I talk to guys all the time. I say, how many of you wrecked your first car? How many of you, your dad got you another one or your mom got you another one right after? How many of you wrecked that one? How many? And it's like they didn't do anything to earn it. They didn't go out there and work for 2 summers and save money to save for that car and buy it, because the things that we give energy to are the things we take care of. Like, I'm just not going to give away something that was hard work for me. If I lose it, it hurts.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to make it hard in a way that it's worth it and there's value in the struggle, and that if they accomplish it, there's a true feeling of like, I came and did something here. I'm not the same person I was when I got here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's evident to everybody, not just them. Most of the time, other people see it first. Their families will come on a family intensive weekend and say, like, my son's, he's different. Or sometimes, he reminds me of the old him. Still got some more work to do. And
right.
Like, yeah, you're right.
Right.
They no doubt.
Right.
This is a roller coaster, and right now we're down here.
Yeah.
There's always more work to do.
Yeah.
There's no finished products. And I want to create such a place like a launch pad, like a place where this is the beginning of the journey, but it's a very strong foundation, because you can only go as far as your foundation is going to take you. I think a lot of times in treatment, or just in the healing world, the world of healthcare, is that the patient comes to the place and says, hey, it's just like building a house. Like, hey, you got 10 days to build the foundation. Then after that, I want you to build the first floor. And after 10 days, I want you to build the second floor. If the foundation, like, you can't rush the foundation. That's the whole thing. You can't do it on a certain time frame.
Right.
That's why a lot of times when insurance companies or whatever will be like, oh, I'll give you 8 days of this. And being confined by that is truly tough, because you're saying you give me 8 foundational days, then I got to build a second story.
Mm-hmm.
How long do you think that's going to last? Because if I skimp on this, if you determine that I have to skimp on this, then you really cut my legs out from underneath me. And this is a life change we're talking about. This isn't something like, let's patch them up and put them back in the game.
Right.
This is, the game is wrong.
Right.
We got to get in a new game.
Right.
Everything has to be changed. So to put a time frame on that is really tough. So it's an open-ended time frame. People come to us for a 90-day minimum, but you can't come for less. Like, I don't know how many people have called and refused to come just simply because, like, you mean I cannot do 30 days? I'm not coming if I can't do less. You got to understand, I can't come and do less. I'm like, I'm sorry, there's plenty of places that'll help you for that time frame. We, on the other hand, can't do the work that we know how to do with less than that. That's the absolute bare minimum that we can do to even reach. And that's just been my personal experience. It doesn't mean that other people can't have dramatic transformations in that short amount of time, but our process takes longer.
Because you're doing a lot of trauma work. I mean, that's what you're known for.
Mm-hmm.
That's your,
Yep.
That's your baby. It's trauma work, correct?
And the accountability that comes.
Sure.
It's in the same vein, doing the trauma work, I don't believe victims recover.
Right.
So my job is to somehow walk through the entirety of the chambers of hell with you and see how that turned you into a person that you don't want to be. And then we rewrite the story. And then you become the person that you've always wanted to be. And then you use that to help other people. Because sometimes people are they're so damaged, it's only somebody that's been through something similar to them that they're going to listen to. It might be the first person that pops through. Say, oh man, that guy, he told his story. He's a lot like me, man. Maybe I could just trust him a little bit. And that cracks open the door. But until that happens, we're trapped in this story like, oh, this got done to me. And we don't want to be victims, but yet we are. So if somebody comes to me a victim and leaves as a victim, I see that as a failure on my part. If I have not turned that around for them to see, and sometimes the delusion is so strong and my abilities are so human that I can't break through to every single person, or our team can't. I can't say me, it's a team. That can't necessarily get through that, then I try to find somebody that can. I don't want to leave them just hanging. Mm-hmm. Because the job is to wake up. Because once you quit destroying yourself, you start to realize, like, I got time to do something. I don't want to die anymore. And I honestly believe that most people don't. They might want to die, or they might think they want to die, but they don't really want to be dead.
All right.
And I think there's a lot of misconception around that.
I think they just want to be saved. Like, they really don't want to die. They just want to be saved.
Yeah. But they can't. The imagining of staying in this place for any longer is so unbearable that seems the only escape. Most of us, true blue drug addicts and alcoholics get to that point if we're left alone long enough, is where dying is definitely the only way that seems to make sense. It doesn't mean that I really want it. It's just the only way out. Mm-hmm. And when you're actually given that opportunity to wake up and see that there's other opportunities in front of me, and that maybe, just maybe, it would work for me. How did it work for him? I tell him all the dark stories. Our staff does. We don't care. There's self-disclosure that happens. It's okay. You can be a great therapist and self-disclose. There's so many arguments about that. Yeah. Oh, you lose your power. You lose your power differential through too much self-disclosure. And I'm not telling anybody to do anything that they're not comfortable with. When you work in this field, there's a certain amount of identification and experience that has to be passed along. And sometimes you just don't earn that by hiding. And if you're ashamed of it, or you got to keep it quiet, it still has power over me.
Yeah, you need to keep it quiet. Don't want to share it if you feel like this or that, but you're expecting them to bear it all.
And it might be the one thing you're holding back might be the one thing they need to hear.
Exactly.
Because there's a reason, like when I know something's being told, like, it moves through me when I talk. I don't plan on what I'm going to say. It moves through me. But sometimes when something moves through me and I get scared to say it, it's because somebody probably needs to hear it. And I'm being selfish in that way of holding it in. Because it's moving through me. It's not coming from me. It's moving through me.
Right.
If it's moving through me, it wasn't meant for me. I don't need to hear myself say it.
Right.
Somebody else needs to hear it. So that definitely happens. And so I would say, if you're looking at like what it is, it's a unique place. I don't really think, I haven't been to too many places like it. I don't know that I've ever been to another place like it. That's not to say that it's better. It's just different.
It's different.
And I feel like people feel that when they come. A lot of times people have been to 5, 10 other places, sometimes more. And their families or the people that referred them there will be like, it's a different experience.
It is.
Having a different time.
Totally different experience.
I thrive on being that. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be like everybody else. Everybody else is boring to me. It's vanilla. It's the same superficial experience, and superficial experiences don't change people. They just don't. It has to be impactful. There's no way around it. Like
Mm-hmm.
this is a soul that's just got a glimmer. That's all it's coming to me with. It's like a soul with a little glimmer of light, and it's getting ready to just be stomped out.
Mm-hmm.
Just like stepping on a cigarette butt. It's just like, it's all that's left. And that's how somebody comes to me. And if I'm going to let that extinguish, or I'm just going to give them a half measure, I'm just going to get, like give some of my chips, but hold some back. That's not going to be enough to raise that to a flame.
Right.
And we always as a team are looking at how to be more impactful. If somebody's with us and they've been with us a while and we don't seem to be making any headway, we're working. We're going within. We're saying, what comes to me today? What approach should I take today? Each and every day trying to be a better place. Each and every day trying to be a more effective person, be more responsible, more able to respond to the challenges that come. I don't know in this field if it's getting any easier for anybody. Like in the healthcare field, the people that we are working with seem to get more and more complex.
Yes.
And I think that's because we're more and more awake than we've been. We used to just have a few hammers for a few nails. We got a lot of hammers. We got a lot of nails.
Yeah.
And we are experiencing like specializing in true mental health as well. Like not just dismissing everything to addiction, not just understanding that like that if you get through that piece that you're just completely out of the maze.
Yeah.
You're not.
Yeah.
That's a good start. But you're going to have self-defeating behaviors that come even when you're sober that can destroy that. And that's why the deeper trauma work is necessary, because I've seen tons of people in long-term recovery that have ended up either hurting themselves, killing themselves, or destroying their life or drinking again, not because they were drinking, but because they had self-defeating behaviors that they've had since childhood that didn't go away when they got sober.
Mm-hmm.
Still some dishonesty, still some cheating or not being true in a relationship, food. All those things have a really powerful impact on people. And what I've seen most of the time with guys that I've worked with and women is that as children, most of us have some escape. If we grow up in what we'd consider to be traumatic, and a lady named Judy Crane says, trauma is anything less than nurturing. So that covers a lot of ground.
Yeah.
So I've seen a lot of us, food and sex are normally the two things that young people go to before chemicals.
Yeah, before alcohol, before
Sure.
the first time you smoke weed, and that mine was Playboy magazines and a tobacco barn.
Exactly.
You know, when I was 10 years old.
Same thing for me. That was my first escape. If you didn't know where I was, it was in the garage apartment at my grandma's house where all the penthouses and Playboys were.
Right.
That's where Jason was, and that was my first escape. So you get me sober, and you think that part of me's gone. It's not.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's the first thing that reappears.
Yeah.
When you leave treatment, it's the first thing.
Right. I'll have to do work on that. And that, for most of us, food is the other one. Sugar is so prevalent. People in recovery normally struggle with food quite often. So those things, like we look at all that stuff while they're in treatment. With us, we have certain foods that we do that we restrict certain things that other places would never do. Like we do unique offerings in each of those areas to address what a lot of times people say primary addiction when it comes to the chemical. I think primary what came first. And a lot of times food and sex comes first, but then it gets kind of put second when the drugs and alcohol come in, because that becomes prevalent.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes the most used.
Mm-hmm.
But those other ones haven't gone away.
Mm-hmm.
So our job is to also shine light on that and to work through those things, because I know it's coming. You can pretend it's not there, you can act as if, but you're fooling yourself because the insidiousness is there.
And you know, when you're gender specific, you're men only. And having said that about the food and the sex, that those are, the first things that we use, which is true for many people. Even after I sobered up, I put down the pipe and got the fork. I remember eating a whole shepherd's pie. I mean, I was so fat, man, I felt like I was going to, pass out when I put my socks on. Like I've eaten a whole chocolate chest pie in one sitting. We're going to number crumbs in there, and I lost 54 pounds. But that's so true. And then, getting into toxic relationships in sobriety. So in a gender-specific program, you guys can address that, and they can be more genuine and open because they're not, you got men and women in a treatment center, they're not open to talk about their deepest, darkest crannies around the sex and the food world.
Yeah.
And
then we found that to be the truth around it. I don't want to engage their egos all the time. And when I say that, I mean, let's say I'm trying to get to the bottom of the truth with somebody in a group setting, and we're challenging them, and that's not to say that men can't like men in a group setting.
Right.
It does happen.
Right.
But it's how do I, if I'm attracted to somebody and you're coming at me, I'm trying to maintain a certain way of looking, and I don't want to look bad in front of this person. It can bring an inauthentic reaction. And I don't want to do that. I want to engage their ego as least as possible, and I want to engage the real true soul of who they are as most I can, because it's such a limited amount of time. And I know sometimes people think, oh my God, 90 days, 60, 120 days, 6 months. How could I do that? And in reality, it goes like
it
that.
does. It goes by
so
just
fast.
like that, man.
Especially if you're doing deep work.
Yeah. Yeah, the weeks will go by fast. The days will go by slow. That was my experience in long-term treatment. Days went by a little long, but the weeks went by fast.
Well, the truth is this. I believe this in my heart. The reason that time seems to go so fast as we get older is it does, right? It feels faster. Like when we were kids, the days were slow.
Yeah.
Oh, my God, waiting from Christmas to Christmas.
Yeah.
Like, it's because everything's new when you're a child. Every experience is new. Everything's new. I see a butterfly for the first time. Oh my God, it's an amazing experience. Everything's a new experience when you're young. So it takes time to record it.
Yeah.
It takes time to file it. It takes time to see it. You're really awake.
Right.
My kids, it's just like the days like, oh, it's only Monday. I want to get to Friday. And that's not to say it doesn't happen as an adult, but let's be honest. As we age, it flies.
It's quick. Yeah, it's quick. And also, look, think about it. When you're 5 years old, a year is a fifth of your life.
Yeah.
That's a long time. That's a whole fifth of your life.
Yeah.
And
now we just file it away, and we're pretty monotonous in the things that we do. Mm-hmm. We become creatures of habit. Mm-hmm. And I believe that habitual way of doing the world makes it move fast, makes time move fast.
Yeah.
So have new experiences is really important. So like when somebody comes to us, like, it may seem like forever to them, but it's because they're having a whole new experience.
Yeah.
Life as they knew it's done, and this is a new thing.
Yeah. Everything's for the first time.
It may feel like Groundhog Day because while they're in there, because
there's some repetition.
There is some repetition.
And there needs to be repetition.
You've got to build it.
Yeah.
There's nothing without discipline.
Yeah.
There's nothing without discipline. Life is about discipline. At the end of the day, you're not getting anywhere without some level of fight within you.
Yeah.
I really think what separates like success and average at the end of the day is being able to build a disciplined approach to life.
Yeah.
And that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be unbearably hard or painful. There just has to be some level of acceptance that like, this is my duty, this is my job. And without this foundation, I'm nothing. So I got to make sure that the foundation stays intact.
Right.
And that was instilled in me as a kid. I lost it along the way, but I got it back when I got sober. I realized like there was things I worked hard for when I was young. I wanted to play pro football so badly, and I threw probably 1,000 passes a day to myself. I just sit there, catch the ball, tuck the ball, kiss the ball, tuck the ball, catch, kiss, tuck, over and over and over again. Because I knew the only way out of my situation was to get a scholarship. I knew my parents didn't have enough money to send me to college without it, and that came. I got it. but I worked for it because I knew that was my way out.
Mm-hmm.
And when I got sober, that part of me just woke up again that said, like, go earn it, go make it. And when I really see people get things too quickly, like they get sober and everything comes back so fast, they don't appreciate it in the same way, and a lot of times they give it right back again.
Mm-hmm.
So if it takes a while, if it takes some work, I tend to want to hold on to it. I just don't want to give it up if any whim comes about that catches my fancy. I realize, like, some of that's low-hanging fruit. Low-hanging fruit ain't always good for you.
Right.
Just because it's easy doesn't mean it's right.
Right.
Some of it, for lack of a better word, could be testing. Could be like, are you for real? Or are you just going to take the next train that comes?
Right.
You know, are you here for the work?
Right.
And I think people that really make it long-term, that really make a life worth living, at some point, you got to pay the piper.
Yeah.
At some point, you got to do
There's
the
a
work.
tax to pay.
Yeah.
I tell families, you're on this side of the riverbank in a bunch of mess. You know, it's just chaos, and you got they're charging for you, and you got to get to the other side, to the shore of freedom, some peace, and some authenticity and purpose. There's a tax to pay to get to that other side.
Yeah,
you got to pay the tax. Nothing's easy about it. Nothing. Jason, man, it's been an honor to have you here today, and we're going to put your program information down in the description. So people can contact you. What's the name of your place? Tell them for the people.
Augustine Recovery.
St. Augustine, Florida, men only.
Mm-hmm.
90-day minimum.
Yeah.
And deep trauma work, disciplines.
And freedom.
Freedom.
At the end of the day.
Freedom.
How do people come to us and they want their parents off their back. And it's like, you want self-actualization. Well, we're going to have to do some work to get there.
Yeah.
But you're not going to have to be under everybody's thumb. Parents want them to grow up, and they want to be free. Let's get there.
Let's do it. Man, thanks so much.
Thank you for taking the time with us today. If you like what you heard and you believe it in your heart that it's true, then come see what we do, because you're going to like and believe that's true as well. Augustine Recovery, it's been my life's work. Everything that I've been through has been poured into this place. And everything that everyone's been through that works at this place has been poured in. And so it's a unique offering. It's a unique place. It's got a lot of energy, a lot of power for people who really need it, who come here empty, want to be filled, want a new life. Our duty is to give them that opportunity, that safe space in which to make that change. And it may take a while, and that's okay. We're not going anywhere. You can't run us off. We're ready for whatever you bring. And our job is to not give up.
Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Again, as always, be good to yourself, and we're going to see you next time.